Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. I'm your host, Colors Fade, and it's episode 4. We have some planets to go to. We're going to go to the Astropathic station. We got some stuff to do before we go to the prison planet here. Lord Captain, there is some commotion on the officer's deck. The Lady Navigator has left her quarters and is currently in the wardroom where uninitiated crew members are shunning her in terror. Perhaps you should find out what has brought Cassia to the deck. Great, so we're interrupted by this. It's an easy thing to deal with. You just have to go talk to her. Someone with a third eye and gills would
Hello,
cause
Captain.
some consternation.
My apologies, I did not notice your entrance.
Well, it pleases me to see you adjusting to life aboard the ship.
Compared to Urak 5, your ship is a boundless world of unfamiliar hues. And yet, the abundance of bright colors can at times be wearisome on the eyes. The bridge and the decks are so clamorous. In my search for a place of quiet, I was fortunate to come upon this islet of serenity filled with rare tomes and practically devoid of color.
So I have to make a note about this. I'll talk about this for a second, because for me personally, this is kind of really cool. I have something that's like partial synesthesia. I see colors associated with the first letters of names, and it's just automatic. It's always the same. I could make a whole alphabet, and every letter would have a color. And this is something synesthesia is something that a lot of like autistic people and other certain kinds of people have. It's a really strange thing to have, and so her seeing these colors all the time, and that's how she associates with the world, is really cool. I like this a lot. So the events that took place on Urak 5 must have shaken you greatly. Are you well?
One should not underestimate the navigators of House Orselio, Lord Captain. Like a shawl of pale smoke, a faint malaise hangs upon my shoulders, but it will not be the slightest hindrance to my duty to humanity, and my duty to you.
Your only attendant is your valet from Urak 5. Do my servants not measure up to your standards?
No, it is not that at all, Lord Captain. It is just that Uwe is quite capable of carrying out his duties by himself. He is well accustomed to my whims and preferences.
Cassia cringes ever so slightly, adjusts the adornment on her forehead, and then awkwardly hides her clawed fingers in the folds of her clothes. The unnatural appearance of navigators often becomes the topic of gossip among lowly servants and officers alike. It is unsurprising then that Cassia prefers the company of one who is used to how she looks. I see you're fond of reading.
Oh, this. I found this fascinating read on one of the shelves, and I must say, it has caught my eye. Its every chapter is written in verse. I find it so beautiful and enrapturing. Urak 5 had a vast archive of its own, of course, although most of the works within had to do with scholarly disciplines of some sort or another. Only in my sparse moments of respite was I allowed to escape into the pages of more embellished works.
Well, I hope that you have had ample time to calm yourself and your powers now.
There are people on this ship who are far more impulsive and dangerous to others, and far less devoted to the God Emperor than a herald of the Navis Nobilite. But I did not need your words to see the shades of umber unease that whirl around your subjects whenever I am near. Were I not acquainted with such a reaction, I could have found their behavior and your question just now insulting. Lord Captain, would you kindly explain to me why you are pestering me with these questions? Inquiring about my mood and my needs, showing an interest in the books I am enjoying. You are behaving as if you possessed a shred of fellow feeling for one such as I. I beg your pardon, Lord Captain. That was no way for a navigator to conduct herself. Please forgive me. I cannot even understand myself right now. Your words and attention have reminded me of life on the station, of Theobald and Felek. I do not understand. They were merely the keepers of Urak 5. So, why do memories of those two make me feel a strange heaviness here? At the same time, I find myself overwhelmed with new excitement and anticipation. At last, I have set foot outside my familiar walls, and into a world that I have only seen before in the pages of books. Your ship alone is a treasure trove of remarkable artifacts and curiosities. And just imagine the things that await beyond, but... My delight must seem childish to you, surely. In your heart, you must be finding all this quite amusing.
I understand what you are going through. My own life was turned upside down not too long ago.
Indeed. I did not know. That is to say, I could not have known, as it is the first time we are speaking in a circumstance so... private. My word, when I found this place, it was so full of officers. Why did they all leave?
Perhaps my people did not wish to disturb you.
Or because my presence offends them. Then I must take my leave as well. I am due to inspect the Sanctum Navis after the communion ritual and prepare the chamber for the upcoming warp jump. Thank you for your company.
And with that, she is on her way. And we go back to the bridge. Oh, but we leveled up. Fun. And there's nothing in here. Cool. Okay. And we have some gear to take care of. We acquired some gear at the very end of the last episode. We haven't looked at it yet. So we will do that. Alright, the person who's going to have the highest persuasion is her. So who had those gloves? It was me. Okay, she's going to wear those now. She can wear those, and then there's this. Every time the wearer deals damage, the target's weapon, skill, and ballistic skill is reduced by 5 for 2 rounds. Stacks up to 6 times. Every time the wearer's deals damage, the target's... Oh, I see. Okay. Well, why don't you use that for now? And then there's this. Hit chance and critical hit chance. I'll take that. And we still have this cape. 5 fellowship. She needs that. And she doesn't really use fellowship, but we're going to give it to her anyways. Alright, and then there's armored body gloves. And what do we have for new weapons here? Anything too interesting? There's this. The Dead Shot Stub Revolver. It shoots 1 projectile. It has an additional hit chance, but it doesn't have any dodge reduction. It does a lot more damage, though. I think what we'll do is give that to Abelard. He's not going to use his weapon. He's not going to use his ranged weapon very often, but you should have it. Staff of House Orcelio Guardian. This is infusing allies targeted by the navigator powers gain 5 bonus to their characteristics. And then castigating navigator powers. Enemies suffer -5 penalty to their characteristics. I think that's what she has already. This. She doesn't need a ranged weapon. We'll get rid of that. She's not going to be using that, so I think we're good. She's got, what do we have the difference here? Auto pistol and a scrappy auto pistol. I guess you should use that, but really what you should use is a las pistol. Again, dodge reduction, more important. And then we're good. We're golden. All right, let's do level ups then. Let's take a look at the Excel spreadsheet. The rogue trader at this level. It took biophysical distortion last time, so this time we get pyromancy and Medicaid. So we want to take pyromancy now. We're going to get our first pyromancer skill. Medicaid, because this is going to be what determines our hit points later when we become an executioner. Abelard is going to get, let's see, Sworn Enemy and Athletics. Sworn Enemy, the warrior mix, marks a target gaining 20% armor against them and +6 damage on melee attacks against the target. If the target attacks the warrior during this round, the warrior gains 1 AP, which is really nice. And then we said, what, athletics for him, sworn enemy, and athletics. Yeah, he's our athletics checker for a huge chunk of the game. Then we gotta go roll down here, Cassia. When I first played the game, I mentioned this in my Rogue Trader review that I use Warglier's build, but I've come upon my own builds. I have a slightly different build for Cassia, so it doesn't really kick in till later, but right now she's got, let's see, what did she pick up right here? Finest hour, right? So she gets willpower and path unscathed. Willpower is gonna affect her defense, her offense, and pass unscathed, the first one here. If the navigator's perception is higher than their agility, which it is, their dodge is calculated using perception instead, so she needs that. And then she picks up perilous ways and willpower again. So down here, perilous ways. Enemies moved by the navigator's power suffer 4 damage at the end of their movement. This is based off her willpower bonus. This damage is increased by +1 for every cell the enemy moves. She's going to move people around a lot, so that's great. And then Idira. We run over here and get Argenta and Idira's builds on the Excel spreadsheet. Let's see. She last took willpower and what? Stabilizing factor. Okay, so now she's going to get fresh target and willpower. Fresh target. Whenever the operative attacks an enemy that is at full wounds, the attack deals 14% more damage to the enemy. That's useful for her one particular skill. And then she's going to take willpower as well. For Idira, it's, let's see. Which talent is it? It's her attacking one. I can't remember which one it is, but anyway. It's her single target attack power. And then for Argenta, she's going to be ballistic skill again and take concentrated fire. All these are nice for her. Concentrated fire, the next ranged area attack made by the soldier, so her burst attack, deals 100% damage and has an additional plus 20% dodge reduction. Very nice for her. All right. And then I don't know if we need to talk to anybody on the bridge, so let's see. The void ship needs a new navigator. We did that. These are complete, so we'll erase those. The Scream, the Machine Spirit Keeper, the crew losses. Yep. The Rogue Trader wanted to talk about as soon. Okay, we need to talk to Argenta, and she is down here. Let's go. Argenta. Sister Argenta. She looks tired. There are dark circles under her eyes. Her hair is somewhat disheveled, and she moves like she's a little on edge. You said you had a personal request for me.
I indeed have a request, Rogue Trader. The accursed servants of Chaos who assaulted this ship took the lives of your loyal crew members, and they orphaned many children, including the progeny of the brave officers who defended their posts until the bitter end. I don't know what customary practices there are for cases like this in Von Valancia's territory, but in the world I'm familiar with, the children of such brave souls could expect to receive some special consideration. Perhaps the Rogue Trader could meet with the orphans?
What good would meeting them do?
These children are the future of your crew, and one day, they too will have to stand against evil and heresy as their parents did. By meeting them, by speaking the right words to them, you will honor the memory of the fallen heroes and light the way to heroes in the making. They will always remember the day they met the Rogue Trader. Besides, it will bolster the orphans' spirits, help them recover from their loss, which can be hard for someone so young.
All right, I will meet with them. No formalities needed. These are the children of people who gave their lives for the Von Valancia's dynasty. My consideration is the least they deserve.
I will pass on your instructions. Thank you for taking my request to heart.
So now we head to the lower decks to talk to the rabble. The motley group of adolescents do not take their eyes off you, gazing at you as if you were a creature straight from a fairy tale. Abelard says, our indefatigable sister has been keeping an eye on these pups. It is hardly the Scola progenium. but we have provided the orphans on our ship with adequate care and instruction. Argenta is standing to the side of the group. At your approach, she perks up and announces, her voice ringing, "Brave ones! The master of this ship has appeared before you, the one who guides it through the darkness of the universe by the Emperor's will. Greet your Lord Captain, the rogue traitor of House von Valencias." She's not entirely accurate on that count. That's actually Cassia's job, to guide the ship through the darkness by the light of the Emperor. I just tell her to do it. But anyway. Heinrich Montag, you notice the Infernus Master standing a few paces away from the orphans. He watches you with approval and bows respectfully when you meet his gaze. Infernus Master, do you serve as a teacher in your spare time? Not at all, your lordship. I'm just looking out for him. It's the Infernus way to help folks in trouble. It's our job, after all. So we chip in rations here and there and make sure nobody gives them a hard time. We take the older ones into the clan's care if they want. Many in the guild are not our family by blood, but by circumstances. Your Lord Captain greets you, brave ones. The teenagers keep staring at you. The girl who has remained close to Argenta smiles uncertainly. A skinny, pale lad tries to throw his shoulders back and stand at attention like a soldier. Only a few teenagers at the far end of the row seem sullen and not particularly impressed. One of the scowling visitors with a thin scar across his face tosses his head back and says bitterly, "So what? Why should we care? Our friends and parents died, and there are dozens for you noble lot, and you just give us speeches." Argenta quickly turns to the boy. A flurry of emotions flashes in her dark eyes, like she wants to both calm him and scold him for his impudence. I see. Well, if you have things to say them without fear. I will listen. The boy smiles grimly. It doesn't matter what we say. It won't bring our parents back, and it won't change our fates either. We'll keep slaving away on this ship until we drop and die like our folks, or worse. I understand your grief and dismay. Your parents died. It's not an easy thing to go through. But they gave their lives for the truth, for the good of the whole ship, and for the Imperium. Do not speak of their honorable fate with anger and disdain. You heard the rogue traitor, Argenta says. His words carry the wisdom of the Imperium. It's hard to say whether or not your words have left an impression on the boy, but he nods slowly. Then he catches himself and gives you an awkward bow. Abelard gives a sign, and servants immediately emerge carrying packaged treats with von Valencias emblazoned on the wrappers. It appears that the seneschal came prepared for any contingency. Treats for everyone. Hopefully they're good treats. Argenta rubs her temple pensively. She smiles and offers a few more words of encouragement and leaves the bay. Bye-bye. They do about as good of a job as you can with a game engine like this of trying to give you a sense of the scale and size of these ships, but it's impossible to do. It's a bit like a naval carrier in the sense that you really have no idea how big one of a U.S. military's naval carriers is until you've talked to someone who's actually been on them. And then you're like, holy crap, it really is a floating city. It's kind of amazing. All right, back to the Cronus Expanse. We have things to do. So let's go visit the Astropathic station. Permission to report, Lord Captain. Members of the sacred cult operating aboard the ship have requested an audience. They wish to present gifts and introduce themselves to their new captain. What sacred cult? They call themselves the Bloodspun Web. The cult defends the flagship from both internal and external threats. Lady Theodora held them in high regard and looked favorably upon their activities. I see. I am ready to receive them. I will commence preparations at once, Lord Captain. So this is the first DLC that ever got released for the game. It introduces you to a new companion who has a completely new class as a blade dancer, and she's awesome. As a fighting companion, she's incredible. Good times. I really like the way they introduced this DLC and this companion and her fighting skills. They do all of this very smartly. This is one of the best introductions to a DLC I've ever seen in a video game. It's really good. Those in the deck watch in awe as the final figure moves gracefully into a ceremonial pose. Some of the officers whisper in excitement, while others murmur prayers to the God Emperor.
The Undying Emperor commanded us to spin a web of blood around his children, and we obeyed. We obey still.
Cabela.
Domin von Valancius, death has whispered your name. We disown Domin Theodora. We renounce our oath to her. And now we give the gift of our blood to you. It is the gift of death. Death has whispered your name. The followers of the tenets of the web swear fealty to their new overlord and offer proof of their devotion. We give you a blade, the silent verdict. The Undying One has chosen you to wield this instrument of death. We give you one of our own, Cabela. She will be your shield and shadow. And we give you the blood of these traitors. The tenets of the web will purify their souls.
You have heard many stories about death cults such as this one. These devoted, holy assassins of the Imperium have turned death into a form of worship of the Emperor. They are exemplary slayers, invisible executioners, and the scourge of traitors, heretics, and fallen souls. Many righteous people honor them as votaries of the faith, while others see their fearsome rituals as frenzied spectacles touched by madness. The cultists are all voidborn. Their lithe, sinewy bodies are clad in light armor, which allows them to move with an acrobat's nimble grace and strike with an assassin's swift surety. Their red and black vestments are adorned with sharp spikes and ritual jewelry. Where time and training have worn their garments threadbare, you can make out patterns of bleeding lacerations. The prisoners cower beneath the weight of your gaze. Blood drips down the tear-stained faces of the captured officers, technomats, and workers. A word has been carved into each of their foreheads with meticulous precision. Traitor, heretic, apostate, renegade. The cuts have been diligently and regularly reopened to prevent healing.
These renegades committed treachery against their domin. Their lips once praised the name of Kunrad Voigtveer, but it is your name they will whisper as they cross over to the other side.
Interesting. So a death cult watches over my crew, they who honor the Emperor through killing, who devote their every deed to serving him. Sacred executioners.
The Domin has discerned our essence. This is a great honor for the Bloodspun Web. We have woven the bays of this ship together with the threads of our faith for many years. We keep the greatest relic, his tarot, through which he sends us his blessed revelations. We obey the whispers of the Undying One. This is our service to him.
The Emperor's
This is our
tarot.
service to you.
a deck of psychoactive cards bearing sacred and meaningful images. Tarot cards are used for divination and predicting the future. Once again, the whole predicting the future thing. They are believed to be able to capture images sent by the Emperor himself. In the hands of a skilled psyker, the Emperor's tarot can be truly potent divination tool.
How interesting. Devout assassins who believe themselves to be instruments of a higher power. They revel in violence and cannot tell the difference between bloodthirst and piety. They follow their faith blindly, unaware of how closely they tread to corruption and depravity. Look at them. They stand on the edge of a precipice. The smallest push will send them plummeting into the abyss. You could be their downfall. All you have to do is push.
Tell me about yourself, Cabela. Are you the leader of the Bloodspun Web, or its herald, or its servant?
I am the second spinner of the Bloodspun Web. The honor of this title is bestowed only upon those who have ushered more souls than... It is shameful to speak of one's own deeds. I'm here to become your shadow, not to make boasts.
What exactly does the cult, like the Bloodspun Web, do?
The tenets of the web teach us to read the threads of the future and understand the hearts of others. When a soul is filled with the poison of corruption, we know its time has come. We bring liberation. 3 strikes, 3 rebukes, 1 blade. This is how we serve the Undying One. This is how we serve you and your flagship. But there are others, the virtuous martyrs who contravene his design without realizing it. Those who have come too close to faltering or committing an apostasy, but have not erred yet. We present such souls to the Undying One.
You kill innocent people.
We do not desire their death. We do not seek them out in the darkness. They come to us, and we usher them from this life if his sacred tarot reveals that the Emperor wishes to accept these martyrs.
You mentioned the tenets of the web. What are they?
Our laws and teachings, our philosophy and way of life, our art of combat and spiritual dogma. The tenets are the Bloodspun Web itself. Humanity owes its existence to the Undying Emperor's sacrifice. It is he who protects us from a darkness of terrors. Hence, each of us has a duty to serve him, and a duty to die for him. To act otherwise is to waste the life that has been given to us by the Undying One, to become a thief. We help others understand this. We help them to live and die righteously.
I see. The cultists do not blink or look away as they stare at you. Why have you brought this rabble to the upper decks?
So you may offer the souls of these traitors as a gift to him. You have the authority to order their execution. Their blood will bind us together through him. For the God Emperor, the Undying One is death itself. The Undying One is duty itself. Give the order, Domin. Let a spinner of the Bloodspun Web undergo the test of a sacred trial.
Give weapons to the traitors, then. It's time for Cabela to prove herself.
A dagger that has not sliced through sinew is nothing more than a toy. Let the final dance begin.
And this is fun because then it gives you a small tutorial on how to use her abilities. So I love this character just because her particular combat abilities are so distinct from everything else in the game. And that's kind of what's neat about this game to me, is the classes are really unique, and I like that a lot. So Cabela, we're just gonna leave her. Yeah, put her right here. All right. So what does she got? Does she only have the one weapon? Yeah, she's only got the one weapon. All right. So she's got this death from above. She leaps in the air and lands on a selected cell. Upon landing, they deal 9 damage to all adjacent enemies. You can see this is based off of her agility bonus plus her weapon skill. So this is neat. She can start banking these by killing people. She can get more and more uses of this, and it costs no AP to use it. So she can dash and dart all over the battlefield.
As honor ordained, the other side awaits.
And then she's got, we could just kill through. She's got this ability, Blade Dance, which is really cool. We're just going to do this and try to
Trust me. One foe or a
take them out. She could jump again if we wanted to. There we go.
Brings me no pleasure.
So that's a lot of fun. And then she's got a whole bunch of other abilities she's going to get later that just augment her most basic skills, and it makes her a powerhouse.
I will be your end. As the tenants demand, the other side
Take that
awaits.
person out. We can
Trust
kill this
me,
person.
kill it. Brings me no pleasure.
Then we can do this.
The other side
Just
awaits.
make 3 attacks there. See, now she's got 3 of these things banked. She can do death from above 3 more times. So it gives you the ability to clear a battlefield really effectively. A cut to the heart, a cut to the throat, a cut to the stomach. These wounds have been inflicted according to his pleasure. The blood of the apostates will wash away the stain of their treachery, so that their souls may prostrate themselves before the undying one's throne and beg his forgiveness. Cabela wipes the blood from her blade in one swift movement. I have acted with reverence and shown proof of my loyalty. Will you accept me, Damonholt? Will you make me your shield and shadow? I have factotum Janris Danric, says your lordship. The spinners of the Bloodspun Web were watching, tracking, and killing Von Valencia's enemies long before the Warren of Trade passed to Lady Theodora. However, their blade has also been known to cut short the lives of highly upstanding persons. The factotum swallows nervously, casting a fleeting glance at Cabela. But I certainly do not in any way condemn the deeds of the deeply esteemed cult. I'm sure they must have had good reason. Sourback says, the cultists are the scourge of the seditious. They bring the unrighteous to ruin. The enforcers respect the Bloodspun Web, for we share a common goal, to bring his light and his harsh justice to the darkest depths of this ship. Aaron Einrich says, scourge of the seditious or not, folk are afraid of them for a reason. A couple of watches ago, these spinners took a train driver to pieces for some kind of ritual. I don't know what old Malok did to earn that privilege, though. And who's gonna feed his family now? Heinrich takes a drag on his illustick, exhaling the thick smoke through his clenched teeth. But that's a lower decker problem. What matters is that the Bloodspun Web serves you faithfully, Lord Captain. Confessor Aldebert, a plump old man in the rich robes of a confessor, adds respectfully, my predecessor's predecessor once delivered a sermon about how the spinners saved this vessel from the servants of the archenemy. The Bloodspun Web paid the price in blood, a river of scarlet that flooded the decks from bridge to bilge. It became the blood of the flagship, the pulse in its veins, and the beat of its heart. Their great sacrifice earned them the favor of House von Valencius. Seems not all the officers have been presented to me yet. Indeed, your lordship, Jocasta Sauerbach, at your service. I am entrusted with the honor of commanding the enforcers and keeping them aboard this vessel. It is my duty to punish trespassers, suppress disobedience, and repel any and all attacks on the ship. Confessor Adalbert, your lordship. As a humble servant of the Emperor, I am entrusted with the high honor of being the ship's confessor, or, in other words, the highest spiritual authority on your vessel. I am here to oversee the purity of the crew's faith. I officiate in the officer's chapel and also look after the ship's reliquary. Confessor, tell me about the spinner's great sacrifice. The vessel was beset by famine and pestilence during a long warp jump. The flagship wandered uncharted paths in the immaterium for 20 cycles straight. Servants of the archenemy used the despairing hearts of the crew to infiltrate the ship, and death followed. The hungry became the hunted. The famished became a feast. The exhausted crew was too weak and emaciated to resist the invaders, but then the spinners emerged from the depths. They stood alone against hundreds of foes, yet they did not falter. They did not sleep or rest as their blade-tipped dance brought death. Though many spinners fell, the Bloodspun Web held strong until the flagship left the turmoil of the warp. You will be my shadow then, Cabela. Cabela's movements are slow, almost rhythmic, as she removes her ceremonial mask. The dark shadows of her eyes accentuate the deathly pallor of her skin, which is covered in ritual scars. Henceforth I am your shadow, Dominholt von Valentius, an instrument of death placed in your hand by the Undying One, or so it was ordained, and so his tarot forspoke. The young woman bows her head once more. I also come bearing an invitation from the vizier of the Bloodspun Web. He wishes to know that the doors to the Undying One's temple are open to you. Are you suggesting the Lord Captain should go down into the depths of his flagship to search for this temple? With all due respect, the lower decks are for servants and crew. They are not a fitting place for his lordship. Who is the vizier? He is the first among us. The vizier has spun the web of faith for 5-fold longer than I have lived. Blood of the flagship's blood, my mentor and teacher. Why is the vizier not here to deliver this message himself? The first spinner is old. His abode is in the temple beneath the flagship's freight line, and he has not left the lower decks in decades. Even a short journey could sunder the spirit from his ancient body. Okay, so where is your temple located exactly? I am not permitted to say. If you wish to find the temple, you must walk the path of Saint Ariane, the matriarch spider. Hers was the thread that would become the Bloodspun Web. Her path began deep within the flagship, in the dark tunnels of the freight line, and that is where yours must begin as well. This journey will bring you closer to the thread of the web, closer to the Undying One, closer to understanding death. Very well, I will walk in the footsteps of the matriarch spider. Your journey will begin in the darkness of the deepest tunnels. The vizier awaits you. Your blade awaits direction, Dominholt. We will speak again when the time is right. And we've got a little bit of gear here. So it gives you a little rundown on Cabela, and the rogue trader's ship is a veritable city sailing through the void, like a carrier. The ship has numerous compartments that you can visit, navigating these compartments using the map on the ship, which you can access from the main elevator of the bridge. So there's that, and we have Cabela level ups to do. So she gets all the way out here. She's got her blade dance, Medicaid, because her hit points will also be based on Medicaid. She's got her death from above, her death waltz. In the footsteps of death, every time an enemy is killed by the Blade Dancer's allies, the number of MP on the Blade Dancer's next turn is increased by 2. So that's fantastic. And then here, we're going to do willpower and pass. Oh, what is this? Let's see. This is death waltz. We need to do nimble and agility. Okay. So we give her nimble. This gives her a 10% bonus to dodge. She wears light armor. You don't want her to get hit. You want agility to go for her. And then Blood Oath and Medicaid. So Blood Oath is one of the first ones I take. This ability costs 8 wounds to use. This is going to get more and more expensive because it's 5 plus the Blade Dancer's level divided by 2. And then it does some really nice stuff. The Blade Dancer targets a single enemy vowing to dispatch their mark. The Blade Dancer's next attack against their selected enemy cannot be dodged or parried. If this attack kills the target, the Blade Dancer regains 13 wounds and gains 1 AP along with an additional attack this turn. This ability can be used multiple times per turn, but it grants the 1 AP and an additional attack only once per round. And the rest of these are also really good. Veil of Blades is nice. Oath of Vengeance is nice. Acrobatic Artistry is really cool. This one's really neat. Basically, it makes her rewind all of her dance attacks. So if there are enemies that did not die during all these dances she did, she retraces her steps and does more attacks to them, often killing them. It's a fantastic way to do things. So we do that, and then I think hers is Medicae again. Yes, Blood Oath, Medicae. Yep. So she's there, and then we want to make sure to give her this weapon that we picked up that she granted us, but it's really for her. Silent Verdict. It's a big two-handed weapon. It does -10 to the target's parry, so it's harder for the target. But the big thing is +2% to the wielder's critical hit chance for each attack they make. And since she's going to make a lot of attacks because she's a Blade Dancer, this is really cool. This bonus stacks until the end of each round, so she can get her critical chance up quite a bit each turn. And you can have her dual wield, but we won't. She's got this sword, Spinner's Blade. Again, it does the same thing, +2 to the wielder's critical hit chance. So she's got that. We can give her this for now, but it's not going to matter. What we're waiting for is daggers, which we don't have yet. So, all right. So there's that taken care of. We've been introduced to the Bloodspun Web. And now what we're going to do is try to get to this station. The Astropathic station is dead ahead of the Void ship. It is motionless. There is lifeless silence across its Vox frequencies. Its lights are out. Even those who have no warp sensitivity can feel the presence of death. It is here, lurking in the shadows. All of this makes reading the reports of the ship's astropaths, who claim to be hearing an incessant ghostly howl emanating from the station, all the more disturbing. Well, it's contacted by Vox. The station is not responding. Perhaps there is no one left who could respond. Employ a scout team. The enforcers offered their prayers and proceed to enter the uncanny station. What they saw inside was monstrous. Astropaths upon their thrones, not quite here, not quite now, smudged as it were across time. Servants reliving their horrible deaths again and again, only to be reborn out of ashes and blood into more agony a moment later. The warp manifested itself here, twisting the very nature of existence. The main hall was covered in a crust of psychic ice. A green-robed blind old man sat motionless upon a tall throne. He was quite literally embedded in the ice, yet he was still alive and screaming. Send Zachary Wise to the station with a squad of bodyguards. Choirmaster Wise boarded the station in person and proceeded to the choir's hall. He stood silently for hours in front of a man frozen in ice and held a telepathic conversation with him. Then Master Wise offered a prayer to the God Emperor, and the unfortunate man passed away. Upon returning to the ship, Wise reverently presented the Lord Captain with a grim trophy, the late choirmaster's amulet taken from his frozen body after his death. And if you're playing a psyker like me, or if you're going to use Heinrichs, this is a great thing to have. Denial of Nightmares. If worn by a psyker, the wearer gains immunity to the horrors of the warp effect. This is the target suffers -5 to weapon skill, ballistic skill, willpower, strength, and -1 resolve per difficulty tier of the demon for 1 round. So negating that is really nice. The psychic shriek carrying across the immaterium has been silenced, but this has brought the crew no relief. A chilling realization came to the astropaths when they discovered that the cry was masking a different sound, one even more terrifying and surreal. It was the melody of a cataclysm born from a warp storm of titanic power, so intense that the entire expanse must be able to hear it. It muffles astropathic messages and crawls into psychers' minds, evoking everywhere the same image, a dark, gaping, beastly mouth cleaving the universe in two. Now that the mad choirmasters have finally stopped screaming, the song of the Immaterium has reached the rogue trader's void ship too. Order the station explored. A brief and chilling chronicle of the station's doom was found in the scribe's records. A warp disturbance of monstrous proportion wiped out half of the choir at once. turning the astropaths into living portals through which torrents of the Immaterium's energies poured out. Those who lasted longer bellowed and howled about a black rift that had split the universe into before and after, and a darkness that would devour the Astronomicans' light. The psychic beacon that helps navigators to triangulate a course for their void ships through the warp. I see. Well, burn everything. Void torpedoes shatter the fragile station. One can only hope that the unfortunate souls captured by the warp have perished along with their home. So that's gone. Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. It's pandemonium outside the bridge gate. One of the offers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Wassarian's voice. In any case, I wanted to warn you in advance. So, one more little ship thing to take care of this episode. The everyday sounds of the bridge are disrupted by voices raised in anger. Abelard's voice the loudest of all. This is not the conduct of an officer. These are the antics of a high-born brat out on a lark. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. Avrilevent, the young woman standing before Abelard, strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of her superior's anger. She falters, but then manages to look him in the eye and say, I apologize, sir, but I must speak to the Lord Captain. Very well, Lieutenant. You may address the Lord Captain, not least because I see you have already seen fit to disturb him. Your unauthorized appearance on the bridge and display of belligerence toward a high-ranking officer will be logged on your personal file without delay. Lord Captain, Lieutenant Avril Vent, requesting permission to speak. Vent falls silent and then adds rashly, on a matter of extreme importance and urgency. You may speak, but I want to hear a report, not a shouting match. Having two officers bickering in full view of the bridge is unacceptable. I'm sorry, Lord Captain. I thought that drastic times called for drastic measures. This matter cannot wait. Any minute now, an assault unit will be dispatched to the lower decks on orders to crush the workers' strike by any means necessary. But I am convinced that this step is unwarranted, and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers. Vent is almost trembling with tension as she delivers her speech, her face extremely pale. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a skeptical huff. He glances at Sourback, who is standing not far from him, but she maintains a stony expression. Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of Seneschal Rosarian, to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny or a massacre on our hands. Vent reels off the last words as though she knows them by heart. She has clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she is finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard, then at you. There is an insurrection in the making aboard my ship, and no one has informed me? I would not deem it a problem worthy of a rogue trader's attention, Abelard says. The lower decks, as it so happens, are in revolt. 30-some years ago, we even had a revolutionary leader rise up who dared to establish workers' rules across the entire ship. It took a month to restore order, but even 8 years later, we were still battling rumors that the hero had survived his execution, as one on the verge of gathering people to fight against tyranny once more. Abelard scoffs. Needless to say, the rumors were baseless. As for the current situation, we have sufficient enforcers to deal with it. But on this ship, Avrila says, the words of the Lord Captain carries more weight than a salvo from 100 bolters. I'm sure that if the rogue trader addresses the malcontents directly, he will quell the unrest. I dread to think what problem you will disturb the rogue trader with next. Perhaps you will ask the Lord Captain to break up brawls in the mess room. I've already given you the means to resolve this problem. You simply need to use them. If I may, Avrila says, your lordship, sending a hit squad to crush the rebellion is a means of ignoring the problem, not solving it. So how did it start? The situation could boil over at any minute, so I'll give you the condensed version. It all began when the enforcers found a cultist amulet on the body of someone who'd been killed in a drunken brawl. We reported it up the chain immediately, arranged for a cleansing rite to be performed, and opened an investigation. No heretics have been found alive, but the search has brought tensions between enforcers and workers to a head. Where does Seneschal Wersarian come into all this? I shall explain, Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry, time is running out. I will not hurry, Abelard says, since my competence is under scrutiny. I shall speak for as long as I see fit. There is an established order to the way things are done on this ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. It is the Seneschal's role to ensure that. I have always handled internal problems myself, so of course, when I received information about cultists hiding on the lower decks, I took the matter in hand. So long as I live, not one of the vermin who murdered Theodora von Valencias will find refuge on her ship. You were far too heavy-handed, Avrila says. Seneschal Wersarian. Arrests, interrogations, mass punishments for entire sectors. It has driven the people to the brink. Now, there is a strike on the lower decks, in Depot 4 to be precise. 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection. But when I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force. What is Depot 4? Depot 4 is one of the poorest sectors on the lower decks. It is home to clans of general laborers. They are not as valuable to the ship as the families who have served its specialized systems for generations. They are an easily replaceable resource, and one which now, more besides, giving succor to cultists and minions of the arch-enemy. Depot 4 is poor and troubled, Avrila says, but at worst that means drunken fights and illegal rotgut brewing. We have handled the workers of Depot 4 in the past. We would have done so again if the crackdown hadn't been so harsh. And another important point to bear in mind, the problem is not limited to this sector. It is located on one of the most populated lower decks, and everything that happens there has a knock-on effect on all the neighboring sectors. Abelard, what do you have to say about all this? I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority, guided exclusively by the best interests of your protectorate and your personal safety. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions for yourself, I have no objections. For my part, Avrila says, I urge the Lord Captain to go down to the lower decks, stop the assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they are not lying or harboring heretics. That way, you will stop the uprising before it begins. Master-at-Arms, ship's enforcers report to you, and yet you seem hesitant to provide your own perspective. Lord Captain, Jocasta Sauerback says, unlike Lieutenant Vent, I respect the chain of command and realize that it is not within my right to challenge my superiors. Sauerback throws her head in Abelard's direction. However, a moment later, a serpentine smile appears on her lips. That being said, while I entirely share Master Wersarian's opinion on what fate Depot 4 deserves, I must note that this insubordination is a direct consequence of practices that he himself has introduced. Mistress Sauerback, I see you have decided to follow the lieutenant's example after all. Such behavior does you no credit. Sauerback, explain yourself. The ship's regulations state that the Master-at-Arms is responsible for resolving all matters related to the ship's enforcers. And yet, it is no secret that the Seneschal has a tendency to show partiality. Those enforcers and officers whom he has deemed particularly promising are at times given permission to approach him for tutelage. I cannot deny Master Wersarian's experience and insight. The Seneschal has a record of fostering students who have indeed achieved much and demonstrated impeccable performance. However, extending such patronage over the head of their immediate superior encourages disregard for hierarchy among your lordship's servants. Today, an enforcer goes to the Seneschal to report an order from the Master-at-Arms that they happen to disagree with. Tomorrow, they will go to the Lord Captain to object to the Seneschal's order. I notice a pattern in these actions. Abelard, do you wish to respond? Mistress Sauerback, can you recall an occasion where I would encourage an officer to disobey their superior? or one where I would overrule their order, or show favoritism to those who merited none. None, Seneschal, for there have been no such cases in the entire time I have served aboard the ship. If anyone were to claim otherwise, I would have them pay for insulting your honor with blood. Your conduct in this regard have always been spotless. Nevertheless, given your eminent position, a simple show of attention on your part is enough to erode the propriety of junior officers, inflate their sense of self-importance, and undermine discipline. That you distinguish some of them and know them by name is tantamount to walking around the officers' deck handing out gifts to officers who have caught your eye. It fills those you set apart with ambition and audacity, makes them stand out among the rest. Enforcers are meant to be faceless servants, fighters ready to die, their fate entrusted to their commander and no one else. That is the sole foundation of order. Lieutenant Vent, would you say the Seneschal has singled you out from your peers in any way? Lord Captain, I swear that Seneschal Wasarian has never granted me any privileges, never once advocated for me, nor facilitated my promotions. Although he is the man who convinced me to become an officer in the first place. He has offered me extensive guidance in my service, for which I am grateful to him. And while not all of my fellows receive such attention, I know of at least a dozen fine officers whom the Seneschal keeps in his sights to ensure that they continue to strive. To prepare new generations, Abelard says, of the dynasty's servants, to instruct them, and to separate those with potential from those who have exhausted it. That is my duty as Seneschal. This ship has bays worth of pilots, enforcers, officers, technicians, and stewards, whom I have raised personally. By the throne, every third person standing on this bridge right now was my student at one point. I see. Evidently, my officers are anything but a shining example of unity and adherence today. I have only myself to blame, I suppose. I've heard enough. I will go down to the lower decks and deal with the problem personally. Praise the Emperor, Aurela says. Thank you, Lord Captain. Abelard grits his teeth slightly. An enterprising bordering on the sophomoric, but please yourself, Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist that I escort you. Lord Captain, Jocasta Sauerback says, I regret that the enforcers were unable to handle the situation, which then led to your and Seneschal's involvement. I consider it my duty to go to Depot for myself and see to the expedient resolution of this incident. And so we must go, and we will take our whole... This is everybody. We still don't have to make hard decisions yet about who to leave behind and who to keep. But that's coming. So here we are. The lower decks. Hey, it's Wasarian. Take that, scum. Look who it is. This is all his fault. All of it. Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture, and a telling one. A rare moment where he allows his age and weariness to show through his armor-like veneer of self-assurance. The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret that we cannot replace all the locals with servitors. Which, I know we've shown them in the game so far, but we haven't really talked about what they are. Mindless cybernetic drones created from the fusion of human flesh and robotic technology used to carry out simple manual tasks. These are often people who are criminals or in some other way useless to society, and they get turned into servitors so that they can still serve. And people think this game isn't satire. Did you hear they were shouting your name? Of course they were. The organization of the daily routine life of the ship rests upon my shoulders. The mountain of challenges and problems from which I endeavor to insulate you, Lord Captain. The situation on the lower decks has been a cause for concern, and I have intervened personally on more than one occasion. That must be why they remember me. They do not know your face. To them, you are akin to a creature of legend, one who has stood on the steps of the Golden Throne, no less. Whereas I am the man whose name is attached to every order docking rations or lowering a bay's heating. Let's keep moving. We need to get to the bottom of this. My friend, let's go this way. Is there... There's no loop. Okay.
Keep
didn't
your
think there
wits
was.
about you.
I still do not see our purpose in coming here.
Relax, old man. Going for a stroll on the lower decks every once in a while is good for you. Lets you see how the simple folk live.
Indeed. The sounds of a heated discussion reverberate through the ship's bays. Lieutenant Avril Event of the ship's enforcers is barring the path of her superior, Master-at-Arms Jocasta Sauerback, who has arrived clad in armor. Judging by their expressions and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time, and already has now reached a boiling point. Lieutenant Vent, patience is wearing thin. I have given you an order, now get out of my way. I cannot comply with that order, ma'am. Vent looks shaken, but there is fire in her eyes. This is my deck and my sector. So long as this area remains under the Lord Captain's special oversight, no action can be taken without my express permission. There are only 3 people who are authorized to make me stand down. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself. So not all of my lessons fell on deaf ears, Abelard says. He mutters in crabby approval. He does not clarify whether he means Vent, Sauerback looming over her, or both. Your lordship. Noticing you, the 2 officers snap to attention and salute, their subordinates following suit a moment later. What's the situation? Your lordship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control as far as resources allow. Under control, Lieutenant? I came here to lead an investigative unit, and what do I see? The rabble is on the verge of mutiny. There is nothing to investigate. This simply calls for immediate repressions and firing squads, and you, Vent, are a step away from facing charges yourself. I want to speak to the strikers. Abelard's mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says nothing. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes. Hope that there won't be a slaughter.
Always keep your eye on the prize.
All right. Let's find out what's going on here. Greetings, your grace. Wow, nobles from the after decks down here to see us. A dozen pairs of eyes stare apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. You take in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from the barely discernible to the strange, to the outright grotesque. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd, an elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Lord Captain, you have come down to us. Tell me what's troubling you. Why are you striking? Striking? That's news to us, your lordship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think. Oh, shut up, Rivet, snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your lordship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for cultists. One wrong word and they're reaching for their batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating to whole bays for a week at a time so that we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs at the spittle with the toe of her worn-out shoe. Argenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes when the children's deaths are mentioned. She quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It's all true, Stager says. Vent is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks and who grew up amidships and has no fellow feeling towards us. The grim man with the scarred face throws up his arms. Your lordship, we're no villains here. We're honest workers, your servants. We've plotted no disorder. We went on strike openly, and now we got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace without being harassed. The persecution started apropos of nothing, you say? I was told that one of you was found in possession of a cultist amulet, and that there are heretics hiding here. A cultist amulet? What's that? The gewgaw they found on the dead drunkard? If it was something evil or forbidden, we sure didn't know. The enforcers just said they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. But how could there be heretics here? We know our people, and there have been no new faces around. Definitely not, Rivet says. And if there were, we'd be the first to report them. And as for this amulet, Old Nan says, or whatever it is, they took it off a dead body. There are no cultists still breathing in our sector, that's for sure. But when that fight broke out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies. The boots they came back with, nobody's ever tread these decks in boots so fine, I can tell you that. Seems to me these cultists have better commanders than us. Oh yeah, Rivet says, those boots really were fine. And there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, it must have been pocketed by someone who didn't know any better. We don't need any amulets around here. We all worship the Emperor, and when we're working, we bow down before the machine spirits of the large and small transformers and the servo motor. The same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by a tech priest who came calling. Believe us, your lordship, we are people of faith. Naive children, Argenta says. Weren't you taught from an early age about the dangers of the archenemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them? We were told, Holy Sister, but it was long ago. The last time we saw a confessor in our sector, it was just after I'd had my third little one. That is regrettable, Argenta says. But you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of the Holy Fathers. Who will you blame when the beasts crawl out of these amulets you stole from the heretics? The Holy Father, who was not there, or the scavenger who brought evil down on himself and his neighbors? Abelard, got anything to add? I authorize the use of all necessary measures to locate Chaos worshippers hiding in this sector. The specific steps taken by the officers were not reported to me. Abelard frowns, clearly disgruntled at having to explain himself in the workers' presence. Nevertheless, I am certain that their actions were justified. Cultists are no drunken stevedores. They are the enemy and a threat to the ship. Neutralizing them demands decisive action. Sourback, was it really necessary to torture these people with cold? The rabble understands only one language, Lord Captain, that of violence. As per regulation, should the laborers persist in their unwillingness to cooperate, the next step is limiting air supply and cutting off water, which is almost certain to restore order. The peasants can grumble all they want, but in the end, they are the source of their own misery. All they have to do is bow their heads and fall in line, and the need for punitive measures will disappear. What changes do you all want? Would you look at this, Old Nan says. The exalted Lord Captain himself is asking us bilge rats what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damn enforcers, to quit turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here, and we want to be armed. Give us arms, and we'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves if these cultists do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here. You've gone too far, Old Nan, Stager says. They'll never let the maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on enforcers on the upper decks too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day is out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbor out of stupidity and drunkenness. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough. And in return, we'll find the scavengers who robbed the cultists' bodies, and we'll talk to them, one lower deck to another. If there are any more of those damn amulets about, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves. You speak for yourself and your clan, Old Nan says, and I'll speak for me and mine. I don't want empty gestures. I want real change. They'll promise us the world now, but as soon as the Anointed One turns us back, these brutes will be on us even harder than before, all because we dared to speak out. The tall worker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders. And every few seconds he opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval. Oh, and there's an option here. Profit factor, we will lose one. We'll definitely not doing that. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into the untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw those demands, and we will consider the rest. Old Nan, listen. The Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions. And I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who's ever stood next to a rogue trader, let alone talk to them. Back down. Now's no time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Listen to us, Old Nan. The 3 clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made our minds up. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You 2 are ganging up on me, is that it? So brave you are against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will indeed. I won't go against 2 clan leaders on my own. If you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. That's great. Just fantastic, Rivet says. Lord Captain, we're all agreed. Then it's decided. Persecution will stop, and I will expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the cultists. Your Lordship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I'll tell my grandchildren about this. Of course, your Lordship will root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers, and will leave no stone unturned. That little bit of business resolved on your ship. Now there's just Abelard to deal with. Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance and address your other companions, saying, I have an urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please give us a moment. Abelard looks at you and his last vestiges of restraint vanish. Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed to the disloyal rabble. You believe their lies and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by cultists, that rabble will welcome them in with open arms and allow them to wreak whatever havoc they like, because they see you as a weak leader. Is that how you see your future at the helm of the Von Valencia's Protectorate? Well, there is some truth in your criticism. Let's talk about your role in all this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your actions practically guaranteed it would. I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene, Abelard says irascibly. Remember, Lord Captain Theodora, do you think she ever sent one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers, while she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the Protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought. Well, maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There is a new Lord Captain aboard this ship, and I will not repeat her mistakes. Abelard looks at you stunned and exhales loudly. Then he nods curtly. I commend your decisiveness, but I am uncomfortable with introducing new protocols in the midst of a crisis. And Abelard stands straight at attention. I lost my temper, Lord Captain, and I believe I ought to explain myself. The prosperity of the Von Valencia's Protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for the chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds. They create order out of anarchy. That creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left behind everything I had known, everything my family had known. I come from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all the concerns she had no time for. She would go off on her flagship for long periods to distant frontiers or scouting voyages, and the advancement of the entire Protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then suddenly, everything that had been built over years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hangar on a seismically active world. One of the senior officers betrayed us all. The rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. all this has come as a grievous blow to me. I am not panicking or grieving because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I am duty-bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed excess to requirements. Theodora trusted in established procedures, and she died. I won't make the same mistake. If you want to keep building the future of the Von Valencia's protectorate with me, stop living in the past. Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest, your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment, should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. And now, please let us leave the lower decks. The rogue trader desires to stretch his legs. There are far more suitable places. Indeed, there are. And so that concludes that little side quest. And since we are not going to be interrupted with any more pressing matters, we will conclude the episode there, folks. Thanks for watching. You know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave questions and comments down below, and I will see you next time on the next episode. If there's anything that you want me to do in these videos, anything you want me to cover, anything additionally you want explained as we go along, let me know. I'll do my best. I'm trying to make this kind of like a walkthrough and a let's play at the same time. So I will see you next time. Until then, happy gaming, everyone.